Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? Can anybody see anything? We saying we can't see anything yet? Let's go there. Let me make sure that we are live and direct. Looks like it might be having some trouble here. 1 second there. It's Friday. You would have some problems on a Friday. It says live. We are good. Yeah, as far as I can see, we are good. Good morning, everyone. Sam of United People's TV. That was a little bit of a distraction. How are you doing? It's been another rough week in the lives of Manchester United fans after that Brentford game, after the talk and the conversations. Look, today's show is going to be split into two parts. First thing, we're going to run through Laurie Whitwell's comments from the Talk of the Devil's latest episode. He speaks about Ruben Amorim and he speaks about Jim Ratcliffe. I'm going to bring up that clip and we're going to have a little bit of a conversation. And then we're going to focus the second part of today's show by speaking about Sunderland. All right, we're going to run through the team news itself. I suppose will come out from Ruben Amorim his press conference later on this afternoon. But we're going to have conversations about Luke Shaw, Harry Maguire, Lenny Yoro, Bruno and Casemiro. We're going to speak about Ahmad. We're going to speak about the front three. We're going to speak about predictions and how we're feeling. And yeah, you can let me know exactly how you're feeling. Because I tell you what, I want to kick off today's show by... I say this every day, and I will say this every day, and I won't ever stop saying it, but like this community is so different here on United People's TV. It's a rough ride right now with United fans. It's like it's flammable everywhere. I got the raw end of that this week with the comment I made about Højlund and the idea that I would have preferred that we kept him if it meant that we signed a central midfielder, and then that makes me a hypocrite for saying that I wanted to sell him. And the reason I think that's kind of, well, I've tried to explain myself. I really have. Because as far as I was concerned, the idea of Højlund staying or going was a separate conversation to a central midfielder. But as it transpired, as we found out, it kind of reached a point where it was, do we go for a number 6 or do we go for a striker? And the club went for a number 6. No, sorry, went for a striker. That was the point. But I want to say to Gungshi and to Manny, to everyone who gives memberships all the time, all of you make this community what it is, right? And I tell you what, right now, it's having like-minded United fans to come and have a conversation with is quite important, I feel. I really do feel anyway. Wisdom, you're saying that Bruno's going to be benched. I'll read plenty of your chats and your comments out throughout the show. Let me say hello to everybody, and we'll get on with today's show. Alex, good morning to you. Steph, good morning to you. Gungshi as well, and Carl. All the mods are out in force. We've got Manny, we've got Smee, we've got Lisa, we've got Ollie, we've got Rob Taylor, and Gungshi as well. He's saying congrats on reaching 555. Oh, yeah. I'm really bad at noticing these things. I really should be. You know, that's one thing I realised that I don't do enough, is sort of kind of shout with pride all the stuff that we do here in United People's TV. Like, I don't actually think people realise how big a team we've got going on, working on the socials and trying to put stuff out there that isn't just that surface level nonsense. That, yeah, there's going to be more of that. But Gungshi, love you. Love to everybody. Liam says, I'll cut United Strand's hair for a membership. Mate, that dude is not ever cutting his hair ever again. Dalron asking what it will take for him to drop Shaw and Delo. I'm going to be speaking about the game in probably about 15 minutes, okay? 15, 20 minutes or so. We'll have a conversation about the news first. First things first, I want to pull this up. This is the latest England squad that was just released. And I don't know how many squads in a row now that is. It feels like quite a few. But quite a few England squads where there's just not a Manchester United player in it. Which just doesn't really feel right. I mean, it is right because there isn't really any United player. What United players should be getting in there? Cobby, but he's not playing. Maguire? You could put Maguire in there if you want to. I mean, Maguire will probably go to the World Cup. I wouldn't put Luke Shaw in there. Probably forgetting some others as well. Don't really know. Yeah, Ollie, big up. It's a nice jacket, isn't it? I've got a nice jacket selection, if I do say so myself. I know, I thought that was a bit of a random one. And before we get into the news, I kind of want to have a conversation about this. It's something a little bit light-hearted, not related to United, but I wanted to ask you a question. Right, so this is the new World Cup ball that was released this morning. Adidas certainly getting their money's worth because There's photos with like Mbumo, Martinez, Casemiro, Ugarte, Bruno, all the United players. So I wanted to ask you a question. What's your favourite ever World Cup ball? As I said, something light-hearted to kick off today's show. Mount, if he wasn't injured, could get into the England squad, maybe. That's not a horrendous shout, but is that about as far as it's going? I think it's Cobby, but Cobby's got to play football. What's your favourite ever World Cup ball, right? Going here through the 70s. I love this one, by the way. 78. That one there, like the 1998 one, I don't know why, but I specifically remember that ball being hard as hell to kick. As in, like, it was a physically hard ball. It wasn't like a soft one. Like the FIFA Nova, I remember being a softer leather. But that 98 ball, I just remember being really hard leather. The Jabilani, of course. 2010. That was one for Germany. Brazuca. That's a bit boring one. And that was the one from the Qatari World Cup. But yeah, this is the new World Cup ball. Let me see what ones are your favourites. 2002 says Paul. So says, Philip says it as well. 2010 says Marco. Jabilani. I mean, that was a mad ball, wasn't it? 2002 is the best one, apparently, says Josh. I think I'm going... What would I go? I think I'm a bit biased, if I'm honest. Right, one second, let me do this. That right there. That for me is the best World Cup there's ever been. And therefore the ball. Because I always speak about this. You know how like we've got all the new kits over here and we've got retro kits, there's loads of them over here. You can't see there's loads more behind me there. I don't give a crap. If I'm being honest about kits. I don't like get mad excited for them. I think the third kit's pretty cool this year because it's a big throwback to, what was it, the 94 sharp black and yellow one. But in the same way, like these balls, like I'm more biased towards the 98 ball because I remember that 98 World Cup so much more vividly than any other World Cup. And it was a World Cup that just had that Brazil team, that Ronaldo, so that. Anyway, so I'm biased towards it in the same way that kits, you grow to love a kit because of the success your team has wearing it. Like that's why the 99 kit will forever be iconic for Manchester United fans because it transports you back to the 99 season. So I'm looking forward to having good memories about a kit again. A Man United kit. Haven't quite got them just yet. Anyway, what else are you saying down there? And we have a quick look. 98 for sure, says Mike. Italian 90 says John. Italian 90 is nice, but I prefer the 78. I suppose, look, 78 and 98. Basically the same ball. It's just blue or navy. Nishant saying 98 was my first World Cup, was introduced to football. I remember being in primary school and then wheeling in the TVs that were on wheels. Big old CRT TVs. I remember watching Michael Owen score his goal. Man, they still allow you to do that in school. They still show you the footy in school? During the World Cups? I don't know. Can't remember. Right. Let's move on to the news. And I want to quickly speak about this, only briefly. But Postecoglou. This is not captain hindsight. Going from Nuno to Postecoglou really was such a... Like, you know how we talk about continuation? We're speaking about Manchester United here. The idea you go from one manager to another, you've got to make sure that the managers that you're going between aren't like total opposites. You've got to make sure that the squad works for the next manager. Otherwise, you kind of you're kind of a hard into nothing for the manager who comes in. Postecoglou is already getting booed by Forest fans 6 games in because you're going from a manager in Nuno who built his whole success at Forest on a mad defensive deep low block that was basically impossible to break down, and then a blistering counter-attack that had the likes of Elanga in it. And then you go to Postecoglou, who notoriously at Spurs played a big high line, expressive, open football to the point where it was a detriment. massive case in point here of an owner sticking his finger in. Maybe not, possibly. Different conversation. But that's just mate. It's such an obviously stupid decision, and I'm not surprised to see it blowing up immediately. Ollie, you're saying like Cans don't think it'll work at Forest. Like anybody could have told you it wasn't going to work at Forest. And you might say this. Oh, well done, Sam. Captain Hindsight speaking. But it's kind of what United have done quite a few times. Maybe not as extreme a U-turn as Nuno to Postecoglou. But if you kind of look between the managers that we've floated between, like Mourinho and Solskjaer, for example, I mean, that was a big old switch. But who's that? Untitled saying, thanks for being this way. But even if you don't agree sometimes, hey, look, we don't always agree. I like to, if you come at me and you shout at me and you just throw a statement in and you don't try and add any sort of articulation to it, I don't really engage with it too much. Sometimes I nibble, sometimes I don't. But if you pose a question that's a genuine question, a lot of the times I'll engage. A lot of the times I'll answer. And I do like the back and forth. Again, I feel like it's part of what makes what we've got here unique. It's part of what makes this community a genuine community. I do involve you. You are a big part of the whole show. Every single day. Neil, yeah. It only makes it worse. All this stuff and all this, everything you see. And then in the Europa League final, they just sat in a mad defensive deep block and we couldn't break them down. Because that's all you need to do with United last season. Sit in that deep low block. You're fine. Right now, all you need to do against United this season is play long balls. It's so simple. Unfortunately, it's play against United. Now let's move on. Let's speak about United. Let's speak about Ruben Amorim, who of course he has, the talking point this week and will be the talking point and will be in the spotlight until Manchester United string wins together. It's the only remedy. I could do a video on how I'd fix United. I could do a video on how I'd change United. And I've already done that. I did my little tweak. Drop the number 9, create a 3-man midfield, push the 2 number 10s forward, use them as split strikers, switch to a 5-3-2. Get that extra body in the middle. Give yourself a possibility of progressing through the middle, because currently we don't have that. Currently it's wing backs, it's back to centre backs, it's long balls, it's second balls in the final third and trying to build off that. It's nothing that's coming through the middle. And I did my videos this week. I don't regret doing those videos. I think anybody who's watched those videos knows I didn't do them with any glee. And I was like, I'm sorry I'm doing this, but I feel like I've lost faith. Jim Ratcliffe is bloody massive, by the way. I don't know how tall he is, but he is actually massive. For me to have my faith restored by Ruben Amorim, there just has to be development, man. It's the same. It's the same conversation I had at the start of the season before the Arsenal game. I'm not expecting in any way, shape or form for Ruben Amorim to start winning every single game 5-6-0. But for the love of God, like repeating continuous mistakes and not tweaking. As a head coach, as a manager, you have to be able to see that it's not working. And you know what I think is part of this as well, right? I'm going to run through Laurie Whitwell's comments in a minute on what he's saying about Jim Ratcliffe. When it comes to Ruben Amorim, also, can I say this? A little bit later in the show, opening this bad boy. This was sent in by Fran. Thank you very much to the PO box. I have no idea what's in it. Hopefully not porn. I'll open it later in the show when we pull the map out. I'm going to try and keep that as a little like Friday segment. If anybody sends some stuff in, we'll have a little box opening towards the end of the show. So that stuff to go on the wall. So that'll be fun. But yeah, it's up to Ruben Amorim as head coach. Like we saw the interview with Owen Hargreaves and he was speaking about the players' problems and like, it doesn't matter what happens here. I don't know what team's coming up. He has to find ways to... You can't work around that. He has to find ways to accommodate that. Accommodate, again, the wrong word. But I suppose it's up to him to figure that out. Anyway, Yeah, it is a little bit of a dangerous tactic. But I trust you, Fran. You could be doing me dirty. But it has arrived, by the way. That one's come all the way from Ireland. So the PO box, I promise you, is working properly now. I appreciate if any of you are like hesitant about sending anything in or you didn't want to because it'll get lost. It's been used 2-3 times now and it's worked every single time. Royal Mail absolutely screwed it, but it's one I'm using now is working properly. But I'm going to run through here, just playing a clip. This is from the latest Talk of the Devils, and this is from Laurie Whitwell speaking about Jim Ratcliffe and speaking about Ruben Amorim. Okay? Have a listen.
But Ratcliffe is the one to decide, I think, really. And he, I'm told, wants to actually give Amorim the full season because it's a new squad to a degree. It's him trying to get his methods across even more. So we can debate whether that's the right choice or not, but that's the current messaging anyway from the very top with Sir Jim Ratcliffe. And so
we don't need to play it too much because I don't want you to. If you want to listen to the full pod, I'll drop the link down here. Right. But Laurie Whitwell there saying this. That Jim Ratcliffe is the ultimate decision maker, which, again, I've spoken about this so often. Well, in fact, I'll get your take on this. Do you think that Ratcliffe should be the ultimate decision maker? As owner, does the owner have the final say on who's head coach, or does the CEO or the football director? I don't really know. Forrest is a stupid example because Marinakis is an absolute psycho. I don't know if Forrest has got an actual... Was it Edu? Didn't they bring Edu in? Is he working in the whole Forest football group, whatever they've got? It's an absolute... Every single one of you. Saying no, apart from Tyler saying yes to a certain degree. I would prefer that he wouldn't. It's like the CEO is your chief executive officer. He's the man who ultimately leads all the board meetings, leads on the strategy, leads on the vision. That should be Barada's decision. Surely. And I think that's been my consistently biggest criticism of Ratcliffe over these last 6-12 months or so is involvement. Look, we went from the Glazers who hid in the shadows to Ratcliffe who came in and actually held full staff meetings, then met with, who else did he meet with? Met with the mayor. He was there physically in Manchester, and it was refreshing to see. That was at the very beginning with him and Dave Brailsford. But his level of involvement, one thing that always repeats in my head was when he went in and spoke to the sort of physiotherapy team and was telling them about massage techniques that he did because he ran a marathon. I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure they're more qualified than you getting a rub down after running a marathon. But it's kind of the billionaire mindset. Because I'm a billionaire, I probably know better than you. And in some ways, he does. Yeah, and you're saying he won't have made the decision without a thorough consultation with Barada and Wilcox. Yeah, but I don't know. I just don't like the fact that he's as involved as he is in the whole decision-making process. Maybe an ultimate sign-off? I don't know. But the thing I want to speak about more, of course, is the actual decision itself. What's your take on this update, on the latest from Laurie Whitwell? Could this change? Of course it could change. Football is forever morphing. May Ratcliffe's opinion change if United go into this game against Sunderland and get absolutely tanked at home? I don't particularly think it's going to happen off the back of one Sunderland game, but then we've got Liverpool after that away from home. Then we've got Brighton. Then we've got, can't remember who in between, and then we've got Spurs and Forest away from home. Do you think this is the right call or not? right? Because it's all part of the just the media runaround, rat race. I don't know what way to describe it. You've got Laurie Whitwell saying one thing, then you've got Ben Jacobs saying the complete opposite. And then you just got, I'm only going to cover this in just very brief 10, 15 seconds. I called it nonsense in the title because it is just, like, it almost feels like every single time there's even a hint of a conversation about Ruben Amorim's future or the future of any Manchester United manager, like Gareth Southgate's name just gets shoehorned in after Ineos came and took over. Like, any opportunity to somehow shoehorn Gareth Southgate in will be taken because it is rage bait. Like, Gareth Southgate is never going to manage Manchester United. Oh, he's demanding 4 years because he's worried about this and that. Southgate is never managing United. And it's pure rage bait. And people go for it every single time. That's why I just call it nonsense. But I'm going to stick with the people who I think deserve the reputation that they've built themselves. And that's why I listen to what Laurie Whitwell's got to say, what Andy Mitten has to say, the likes of Simon Stone and James Ducker. Do you know how many times I've covered this on this channel? And it is quite exhausting. I'm totally honest, it is exhausting. Just the amount of nonsense that just kind of gets just stuck to the wall anywhere. Superstar, you're saying that United fans are easy to rage bait. The press knows it. It's just is it football fans in general? In this day and age, and it's only going to get worse with like OpenAI's Sora model and memes becoming videos instead of, effectively that's kind of what the logic of that is. Just the spread of misinformation, and it's wild. But what's your take on this? The idea that Ruben Amorim's going to be given the season. Doesn't matter what's happening against Sunderland. As I said, everything can change when you end up losing 4, 5, 6, 7 games in a row. It doesn't matter who you are, right? Arne Slot is Liverpool manager right now. We'll speak about the Premier League games this weekend. He's lost 2 in a row. If he loses 3 in a row, I guarantee you not questions of his future are going to get asked. But people are going to start going, ooh, the problems are really coming in. I mean, because you lose 3 games in a row. And then they play United. And then they win again. Well, what's your take on this? Colin saying Jim probably gave the same commitment to Ashworth. Man, that was such a faux pas from Dave Brailsford. That really was. Not that Dan Ashworth was a horrendous sporting director, because I don't think he was. But just like bringing the wrong man in. It's a perfect example of the right team isn't always just the best players. It's those that gel and work together and complement each other. It's just in the same way that you can talk about balance and partnerships and cooperation and teamwork at a football level, you can do the same thing at board level. The relationships have to work. You have to blend with each other. You have to be able to work in tandem with each other. And effectively, Ashworth did something that I don't believe he wanted Ruben Amorim. I think he was fearful of going for a back 3 system in the Premier League and switching. I think Jim Ratcliffe and the others wanted to, so they parted ways. Let me see what you're saying down here. Andy's saying, I think if Ruben had been given the mids he wanted, I'd be of a different mindset, but he does need to tweak things until January. I really do think he does. Like, and again, there's probably people that are going to be coming at me going, oh, here we go, hypocrite Sam again. Because we went from Erik ten Hag, we went from a manager that kind of threw his system out, tweaked it, and therefore wasn't ever able to rein it back in because that tweak brought results. Anytime he then tried to go back to the system before, it didn't work. It was almost blocked by his own tweaks. And then we wanted a manager to come in who had principles, who had a style of play, who had an identity that we were so confused about under Erik ten Hag. And then we've got one now. It's just the identity is crap. The identity is not working. So then you kind of go back a little bit. It's why these conversations are always nuanced. It's never just in or out. It's somewhere in between. The truth is always, like, if there's 2 people talking, the reality is, the truth is probably not what that person on the left is saying, or that person on the right is saying. It's probably somewhere in the middle. That's what Ruben's got to find. Because he can't throw his whole system and his principles out. And this is a big thing that I'm maybe understanding a bit more, or maybe I always knew, but I never sort of voiced it or articulated it. Formations and systems, it feels like are two different things. And I think the Glasner success, 19 games unbeaten now, the longest in Crystal Palace's history, using a 3-at-the-back system, at the same time as Ruben Amorim is struggling madly with his, it goes to show you it's not the formation that's the problem, it's the application of the formation, which I would say is the system. Like if you're in a 3-4-3, what happens to your two central midfielders? Who steps forward? Who stays back? Those little intricacies, they're the system that the formation plays in. How high do your wing-backs go? What do you do? Where does your defensive line stand? These are all the system rather than the formation. So the formation still isn't the biggest problem at this football club. Never has been, never will be. Like if you drop this team into a 4-2-3-1 against Sunderland, I'm still crapping myself about all the mentalities and the approaches of the players and what's going to happen in these big moments and what's going to happen if the game goes against them. They might not be in a back three system anymore, but I'd still have all those fears. Manny is saying a full season is a no-brainer. It's week 7. We have 30 weeks to reset that view. Amorim will tweak. The easiest is Cunha as a false 9, Sheshko and Mbumo in a top 2, in a 3-4-1-2. It's what I talked about the other week, Manny. I always appreciate your support, man, and your comments. I think we've all been saying this whole time, like the idea like Ruben Amorim will just get himself sacked if he's as stubborn as he is. And I really do feel that. Because just continuing to repeat what didn't work before, kind of I'm trying to think of the mindset of Ruben Amorim, right? This might be a little bit of a weird part of the show, but I'm just trying to do this, right? So if you're Ruben Amorim now, right? You're going into this Crystal Palace game, not Crystal Palace, Sunderland. And you've still got full belief in the setup that we've currently got. Do you have that belief because of how United played against Arsenal? Or is more of that belief because of what happened at Sporting and the success that you've had previously? I don't know whether this is a stupid question to ask. Like, where do you think Ruben Amorim's belief in his own system exists now? Like the strongest belief he's got? Is it in the ways that he's seen his team sometimes working with it? Or is it more the fact that he had all that success at Sporting? He's like, no, it will work because it has worked. And I just have to keep going. Like, what's driving his own belief? Because he must have that. Paul, you're talking about not changing the back three during the game. I mean, Gary Neville was the first person to really sort of pick that out, and it's been said quite a lot since. Amorim's not stubborn; he's just plain dumb. No, I don't even, for the slightest part of me, think that he's a dumb man at all. But he's certainly stubborn. And you're saying, do we have too many players who lack the footballing IQ to do this? I mean, we saw it under Erik ten Hag as well. I mean, part of it's football IQ. Part of it is going to be stuff that there's certain intangibles that you can't really teach. You've either got it or you don't have it. Of course, you can learn a bit of it in terms of video analysis. Like Lenny Yoro's got his own video analyst. Like when he goes into... Lenny Yoro will, this week, have been sat there in his own home probably, watching some videos about the Sunderland attackers. What does Enzo Lefebvre do? What does Chris Rigg do? What ways are they likely to turn? What's their most natural instinct? In the same way that the keeper going into this game is going to do his research on what way the penalty takers are likely to kick. You do your own research so you can help yourself from a football IQ perspective. But a lot of it still is natural. Right, let's go into the second part of today's show. Actually, no, before we speak about the Sunderland game, I want to quickly say this. The fact that we've got Bruno Fernandes winning Player of the Month and Benjamin Šeško winning Goal of the Month for his goal against Brentford, I think that pretty much sums up the month that we've had. If I was going to give it to any player, I might give it to De Ligt, but he had a really, really poor game against Brentford. Was very good up until that point, though. But Bruno? I think Bruno's been ineffective last month, like so many other United players. And the fact that our goal of the month is Šeško's one against Brentford, where he headed it down, then kicked it to the keeper, and then got the third one in. Was it the only goal? Nah, I couldn't. No, of course it wasn't the only goal, because we scored against Chelsea. We beat Chelsea. You kind of get the point I mean. I think the fact that those two are the winners, there's not much to choose from. So now let's move on and let's speak about Sunderland, right? I'm going to go down here and let's ask for your predictions. I think I know what the answer to this is going to be. Let's find out. United win, draw, Sunderland win. And then we go and read out some of your comments, and then we'll head in and we'll have a conversation about Sunderland. Manny, what are you saying, sir? Saying Amorim believes, but you need a very special combination of player characteristics. Look at Palace. They have the mix and the mentality required to pull it off. And on Lenny is another level. If Ruben Amorim doesn't feel like he has that special combination of player characteristics, then he's going to have to find a way that maximizes what his current setup is on the road to his ultimate aim. Like this, again, I'm going to use the example of Postecoglou and Nuno. If Forest wanted to go from Nuno, who is a defensively minded, very good defensive coach that sets his team up to soak up pressure, defend the box, and hit on the counter, if you want to go from that to Postecoglou, who is a very open manager, high line, very aggressive, high press, intensity, you're going from one extreme to the other. To literally go from that one extreme to the other is a bit of a crazy move, because that's such a big shift. You kind of want to go halfway. You get someone in between, someone who's a little bit good, someone who's, good defending their box, but actually is a little bit more expressive going forward. Kind of where we are now, like with Ruben Amorim. Okay, I try with these analogies. Sometimes they work in my head, sometimes they don't. Forgive me. Ruben Amorim wants this team to play with a 3 at the back, high line, towards the halfway line, 2 wing-backs really far forward, front 5, squeezing the pitch, keeping it compact, and working as a complete unit. It's kind of similar to what Erik ten Hag wanted to do, I suppose. But that's not working right now. The central progression isn't there. He doesn't have that midfield, and we know he doesn't have that midfielder. He wanted it in the summer, but United went for a striker instead. So how do you negate that for now? How do you overcome that hurdle on the road to hopefully fixing that hurdle, and hopefully in January? That's what he hasn't found yet. Christos, you're saying you're going tomorrow, long trip back home if we lose. I hope for your sake, Chris, that we win. Now let me see what you're saying down here about Sunderland. Terrible game against Sunderland and against Liverpool. United will play a great game. I predicted that United would play well against Sunderland almost straight after the Brentford game. It feels correct. Danny, you're saying we've got no wing-backs and no number 6s, so the system can't work. Well, I think we do have wing-backs. I'm surprised about Ahmad's struggles. I'm not too surprised that he's struggled to build a partnership with Mbumo thus far. We saw it against Burnley. I did a video on that saying, there you go, there it is. So they have done it before, but we haven't seen it flourish. And yeah, we all knew that we were going to have midfield problems. And it's why Ruben Amorim wanted a number 6. And Paul, you're saying we know the answer. You had a man in midfield. It seems obvious to us. And I don't really know why that tweak's not coming. But let's run through the fixtures, all right? These are the games this weekend. Bournemouth hosting Fulham tonight. You'd probably back Bournemouth, would you? Probably a stinky draw, that one. Spurs away at Ellen Road at 12:30. That's a horrible early kickoff for them. Hopefully they lose. That'll be nice. Arsenal are going to beat West Ham. And then we play Sunderland before Chelsea play Liverpool, I hope that come 7:30 on Saturday night, I think Andy Mitten speaks about this quite a lot, and he's not wrong. Like the swings in energy, like the swings in the feeling of the United fan base between wins and between defeats and between one game to another. It's volatile. And I try my best not to feed it. I try my best to stay level-headed. I saw somebody leave a comment about this earlier going, Sam, you're too emotional. I'm just exhausted of my football club that I genuinely love. Just being the laughing stock. Like a proper laughing stock. Someone down there saying we're worn out. That's kind of exactly how I feel. I just hope on Saturday night that we can... Well, we're not going to be here. We'll be out. But we're just enjoying the fact that United have beaten Sunderland, however it's happened, and Liverpool have lost their third game in a row. That's what we want to have going into the international break. Down there, Anna's saying you're too emotional. And do you know how boring this channel would be if I was square? So United are playing Sunderland this weekend. Don't really care if we win or lose. Oh, United have just beaten Liverpool 3-0, by the way. Ooh, that was enjoyable. Never mind. Right, who are we playing next? Brighton. Well, not sure. I'm not going to apologise for the emotions that you get from me as a United fan. And I'll be honest, I think it's part of the reason why you're all here, because a lot of the time you can relate to them. What are games on Sunday? What's so many games at 2 o'clock on Sunday? That's random. Villa against Burnley. Back Burnley for a little cheeky win there. Everton will be against Palace. That'll be a good game. Newcastle beating Forest. You imagine, maybe? Wolves playing Brighton, and then City away at Brentford. And they're probably going to spank them. Aiden is saying you need to start crying. Up the ante. I'm not sure I've ever cried at a football game. Anybody ever cried at a football game? I'm not even going to you if you have. Just don't think I have. Manny's saying who else wants to see Sam happy after a win? Yeah, it'd be nice. I don't want to pull this stat up. I don't want to pull this stat up as a sort of a doom and gloom. I want to pull it up for this. Mate, it is no surprise that after that Newcastle win in the League Cup at Wembley, that day out was so good. Meeting up with everybody, the game itself, the celebrations after, it was class. It's no wonder I felt that United might actually be back on the right path. 70% win rate. 35 wins in his first 50 games from Ten Hag. My word. Anyway, didn't exactly work in the second season. Right, let's move on. And let's speak about the game. I'm going to see what the poll's saying. Right now, we've got 64% of you saying United win. I hope you're 64% of you, right? What are you focused on this weekend for this game against Sunderland? What are you going to be looking at the most when the first whistle blows? What are you looking towards being different? There's quite a few places. I'm looking towards these three, right? United's whole strategy this summer, was bring in more goals. They would have had conversations about the number 6 and not signing one, and the problems that would bring in midfield, and the problems that would bring to controlling games of football and in the build-up as well. But they just said, let's spend big on goal scorers and bring goals to the team. So if Ruben Amorim gets a season, right? We're speaking in hypotheticals, of course we are. If Ruben Amorim gets a season, it's going to be because of these three. It's going to be because United simply score fucking just Score goals, lads. I swear to God. I feel like that's just going to be my repeating thing. I don't really want to talk about shapes and tactics and in and out of possession and this and that. I mean, I will, I'll do. But just these three lads have got to score. It's not about putting all the pressure on Shesko to become a 30, 40 goal a season striker. It's not going to happen right now. It's about all three of them bringing goals, man. Chris saying foundations are key to everything, Sam, not the decoration. Well, the logic and the strategy of the club this summer was build the foundation on United scoring more goals. Attack, attack, attack. That's what they've done. Is that the spine of the team? No. Is that the control that we want? No. Is that the midfield that we need? No. But these three have just not been scoring enough goals. And it's not an individual finger point. It's a collective. Bring goal scorers without midfielders to give them the good passes. Cunha's a great ball carrier. And Boomer can create chances out of nothing as well. Shesko is going to be the one out of the three that depends on the team. Michael, you're saying it sounds so simple when you say it does seem impossible when I say it like this. Let me see what you're saying down there. Jay saying, I want to see the boys get chippy. Man, I haven't had fish chips in ages. Get stuck in and make them feel our presence. You know what I feel like. I say this every bloody game, and especially in home games, score in the first 15 minutes. Sunderland are having an impressive start to the season. Their goalkeeper, is it Roofs? He's probably going to be their man of the match on Saturday. I would predict that ahead of time. So it's not just a case of peppering the goal with shots, because he's been a very good shot stopper so far this season. They're going to have to be in the corners. They're going to have to be good chances. And Ruben, please. And at this point, I'm actually begging. There is not one reason anybody can give me in the comments now why this lad, Lamons, does not start against Sunderland. I'll run through and explain the logic. City away, I understood that. I'm glad he kept him out of the spotlight. We got demolished there. It would have hurt him. Chelsea at home, I think could have been where he made his debut. And we went down to 10 men. I actually think it would have been a good game for his debut, but it wasn't, and we won. So fine, justified. Brentford away, I wouldn't have started him in his first game for United away from home. And given what happened in the game, I think that was the correct thing to do. Sunderland at home, before the international break, there is zero reason why this lad doesn't start. Like, we haven't signed him to be a cheerleader. We've signed him to be competing for our number one spot, and ideally being so good that by the end of the season, he is our number one. And I'm telling you, it will make a difference to our defenders. Nobody would voice it, nobody would vocalize it. But whoever the three defenders are standing in front of him, part of them will be thinking, all right, I've got a new goalkeeper now. All right, things might be different. It might make a slight difference. It might only be minor percentages, but I guarantee you it will make a difference. Of course, if Sonny Lamons has a horrible game and he makes mistakes and it dribbles in, well, the same fears will be crept into him, and then we'll be going, oh, we go again. But give the lad his chance now. Because you can't give him his first game at Anfield. That's bonkers. And there's only 3 games in October. As long as he's been training well and as long as he's fit, start him. And this. Right, my start 11 video is going out at 12 p.m. today. That's recorded. That's ready to go. And in that video, I'll be honest, there's one choice I've made that I might switch out, and I have a little conversation about it with you now. But in that video, I speak about Shaw and Maguire. And I go back to Ruben Amorim's conversation with Owen Hargreaves this week, and he talks about the players and even the experienced players, and sort of like they're living in the past, not living in the past, but he doesn't use the word haunted by the past, but he wants to look ahead to the future, etc., etc. I see no reason why Shaw and Maguire start this game. No reason why Shaw and Maguire start this game. And I think this is probably the shift that I would do, because I went in there, I pulled Shaw out, and I put Aidan Heaven in. Aidan Heaven has not played a minute so far this season. While he on paper is kind of a like-for-like replacement in terms of the passing angles, in terms of left-footed, in terms of the position, I now think that maybe that wouldn't be the right idea. And that probably you would just see Lenny Yoro shift to the left and Mazraoui coming on the right-hand side with De Ligt in the middle. It's probably what I would shift it to now, but you'll see it in the lunchtime video. Either way, I do not see why either of these two have to start. Now, you might say, hold on, Sam, that's a bit too much, because then you're changing your goalkeeper and two of your back three. 75% of your back... Yeah, I am. Because they shouldn't be starting. I think Harry Maguire has the ability to help Manchester United across the course of this season. But in my opinion, that doesn't mean starting every single week. Is Mazraoui injured? I didn't know whether Mazraoui was still injured or not. Is he out till Liverpool? Well, there you go. Well, I'll be honest, my point was right then. Heaven on the left and Yoro on the right. Someone down there saying that Heaven dropped in form a lot. He's not dropped in form. He's just not really played. But I just don't see how either of these two start. And I think, look, if this lad was fit, you'd know he'd be starting. You absolutely know he'd be starting. And my word, do I miss those vertical, progressive passes from Lisandro Martinez. Those ones on the floor that go into where... Imagine Martinez like feeding Cunha with those balls. And Cunha receiving it on the turn, going straight at almost straight towards the edge of the 18-yard box. But we have no idea on how Martinez is going to be when he comes back. Can't really rely on that. Manny, you're saying start him on. The change in dynamic might be a catalyst. He isn't scarred. That's kind of the point I'm making. It's not just the fact that he wouldn't be scarred, but it's the fact that the three defenders in front of him won't be terrified about who's behind them. I actually don't know when the last time Heaven played was, if I'm being honest. Stephen saying De Ligt was really poor against Brentford, but he glossed over that. Dude, I haven't glossed over it. I've spoken about it. I even spoke about it earlier this show, mate. De Ligt is our best central centre-back option at this football club at this time. Maguire, I think Maguire's far better as an impact. And this might be kind of going against what all of you want. Stop changing your back three. Stop changing your back three. But I think in those games, in those environments and situations, Maguire coming on can actually help United. Sometimes when you're playing a team, there's absolutely no way for you to break them down, and Maguire does come on, you might laugh at it, but the game is just... Long balls have returned in football. Big men up front. Yeah. De Ligt's better than Maguire. De Ligt gets criticism. Maguire gets criticism. But I'm starting De Ligt. And then in midfield, you got these two. I think probably start this game. I don't think there's anything I can really say that I haven't already said. I don't think Mainoo's going to ever start alongside Bruno. And I think Bruno will always be in the starting 11. I don't think any player should ever be guaranteed a starting 11 position. Like any player whatsoever. So I disagree with that. But if we play well, you kind of know that Bruno's going to be part of it. Which is why he always gets a nod. Someone's saying Mainoo and Ugarte midfield. I think that was the best we've seen our midfield so far this season, isn't it? Was it Bournemouth in the pre-season? Remember how high and aggressive United played in that game? Mason Mount was actually a big part of that. Could get him in this team, but I don't think he will, because that front three has to be that front three. Bruno has to... What is it that you think that Bruno has to do to switch things up? Someone down there saying Bruno needs a break. I think part of it is tactical instruction. I really, really don't want Bruno to be the player receiving the ball from the centre-backs. I don't want that. If there's going to be 2 in midfield and Bruno's part of it, then you better damn make sure that Bruno's the further advanced of those 2. That's down to a system. That's down to an approach. That's down to instructions from the manager in the beginning of the game. Because right now, as it stands, Bruno's not going to be playing as a number 10. Colin, you're saying rest Cunha, play Bruno as a number 10. It should really be Bruno, Cunha, and Mbeumo rotating in those 2 number 10 positions. And one of them sits out. Sometimes there might be games where you play Cunha up front. I don't really agree with that, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Just don't want to see Bruno dropping deep, deep, deep and receiving the ball from his centre-backs. That's really what I don't want to see. And I probably will see it. Be interested to see what happens with Ahmad this weekend. I'm sure we'll hear from Ruben Amorim whether or not he's going to be fit. But if Ahmad's fit, I'm starting him for this game. Manny saying Bruno needs to watch from the bench for 45. He'll be better for it. Would be a big call if Ruben Amorim did that. And then if it brought a change, then it would be something that he would have to do more often. What are we saying down here? It's got to be Casemiro or De Ligt playing the ball out to Yoro and Heaven. Leave Šeško up front. Yeah, Šeško starts this game. Of course he does. Ayush saying Bruno receives the ball from centre-backs because nobody else creates any play from deep. He goes back out of compulsion. And I do agree on part of that. Part of it, I think, will be tactical instruction, but part of it will be like frustrating going, oh, right, no one's playing through the middle. I'll do it then. That's not what we need. We don't need emotional, like, all right, I'll do it. Stick to whatever it is. Which is all well and good saying that, but it's not exactly working. Look, if I'll wrap this up and then we can open the Fran's gift and then we'll go to the map as well. Last 5 minutes of the show, we'll make it a nice little community section. But Ruben, lad, I really, 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 really want you to prove me completely and utterly wrong. For you to prove that I lost faith too early. For you to prove to me that change, and he said it to Owen Hargreaves. He's talked about how change can happen. I don't think it comes in a formation switch, but it can come in the application of that formation. It can come in the system that you use. Glasner uses a 3-4-3. Amorim uses a 3-4-3, but they're very different versions of it. Of course, different personnel, that plays into it, but also just how the team sets up, individual roles and instructions within the system. Let me see what the poll is saying. We've got 850 votes, and 66% of you are saying United win. I really hope 66% of you are right. And for what it's worth, I'm with that 66% of you. What are we saying down here? Please get the win, says Rich. We don't need creative players in at number 6. Palace don't have one. They've got 2 ball winners. You're calling Adam Wharton a ball winner? Someone needs to go and tell him who Adam Wharton is. Because he ain't no ball winner. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't win the ball. But to try and dismiss his game as a ball winner, I think you're doing him a disservice there. Yep. And I completely agree with you. When Bruno is a creator, he is a 10 out of 10. And when he's trying to do everything, Bruno is the perfect example that you can do too much. You might think you're helping people, but being busy, it sometimes is detriment to the team. Bruno's a perfect example of that. Right. Let me do this now. This will be fun. So this is from Fran. Make space. Right. Go. What we've got going on here. Feels like a risky move, but I trust Fran. Right. Move that out of the way. baby. All right, I'm trying to get that. You see that? Team of the 90s. We like that, Fran. That's cool. Is that hand drawn? Has been drawn by Jonathan Wood. Man, that's sick. Imagine being that good at drawing. That is cool. There he is. Here's old Jonathan Wood. Looks a little bit like James Alcott. James Alcott, is that you? Nah, that's James Alcott. Someone send that to him. That's awesome. Oh, look at that. Man. This looks cool. What's in here? We've got a mag and we've got some photos. Damn, we've got loads of photos. That's going to get crazy up here. Where's this from? Little Cantona mag. I'm trying to get the date on it. August 2006. That was a good year. I just opened up to that page, by the way, so it's Beyonce and a Pepsi ad. Robson, Best, and Cantona. These are cool, man. Thank you so much for this. Fran, this is awesome. And look, we've got some photos as well. Man, Fran, you've been amazing. Look at these. A little bit of Yap stamp. Is this just going to be loads of photos from the 99 season? I bet it is. Yeah, it is. Man, this wall's going to be a bit busy now. It's like a bloody shrine to the 99 season. I think it is, actually. All of them. That's a cool photo. Is that Simeone? The one that got him sent off against Argentina. I think it was. This is cool. I'm going to try and do this more often. I'll try and keep them to Friday because it's something just a little bit different. But it's nice to do something different on this channel. They're awesome. Thank you very much. You've got a magazine. We've got a photo. And we've got a poster. I don't think that will... So it's a little bit small for the big frames here. But we can try and get a different frame size and try and fit it somewhere else. But thank you very much. Apparently there is only one Simeone. Yeah, it is him. That's a class photo then. Anyway, thank you all, everyone, for another week at Manchester United. Do I think United will beat Sunderland? Honestly, yeah, I do. Would I then back United to take that momentum into Liverpool? You know, the only way that United can convince me to change on that is if United win 3, 4, 5, 6 games in a row. It's got to start with Sunderland on Saturday. I'll be here after the game. 12 p.m. today. The lunchtime video is going to be on the Sunderland 11. Tomorrow's the game. Sunday will be what we learned from the game. And Monday we'll be back here. Oh, it's map day as well. Don't forget the map day. I nearly forgot there, but that's why you've all got to be here. All right? You just can't get the staff these. That way you can get the scarf. You just can't get the lead presenters. Let me know where you're watching from, peeps. You know the drill by now. What city and what country you're watching from. I'll get 3 of you added onto the map. We've latest 3. We've got Germany, Denmark, UK. We've got 2. We've got Aberystwyth. Got Ivory Coast, Abidjan. We've got Abraka in Nigeria. We've got Shmee watching from Bushmills in Northern Ireland. Man, I hate that whiskey. No offense. I mean, that is quite offensive if you like it. Eric, you watching from Altos? Altos in Austria. That one? That one. Well, you can be that one. Close enough. It's in Austria. All right, one more. We've got Alicia watching from Paris in France, which, can I just say, is the best ever World Cup anthem, Carnival de Paris. And if anybody disagrees, you're just completely wrong. Nothing will beat that. I saw today that the World Cup games are going to sometimes be like You might get an England game at 2 a.m. Anyway, thank you all for joining in, to Gunkshi for gifting, to Manny for gifting, to all of you. Hey, look, it's been a rough week. Probably won't be the last rough week, but United, for the love of God, do the job against Sunderland. I know it's not going to be an easy game. Never is. Just get the 3 points. Swear to God. Anyway, much love. Have a cracking weekend. I'll see you soon.